Personal channel.
At least I know how it works.
Yeah.
And there, we're live. Hey, I'm Sean. I'm live here at the Wings for Life office with the director of Dierson Charities, which is also a federal halfway house. And he's here to answer questions and tell you some exciting news. Maybe if you want to get into about the 1 year off probation, also that you told me about. And he's got a few extra things. And I want to introduce Mr. Anderson here.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, man. I've got to say again, I'm really impressed with what you've done with the place. So yeah, I encourage if you got any viewers that haven't been by yet, you really should check it out. It's a really great space. So thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, thank you. We got to hold down the ship and get it floating again, and we are doing things we never thought we would be able to do. I mean, we're doing housing and jobs for people now. We're really making an impact in the community, and all our hearts are in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you and Max and your team are doing a lot of good stuff. So I'm impressed, man. Keep it up.
That means a lot coming from you. I mean, because to run a federal halfway house, you've seen the scams, you've seen the con men, you've seen that. Yes, I'm sure you've heard it all. But now, like me, I've been out 4 years. I don't know if that's enough time to prove where I've been, but I think I'm on the right track, and I don't ever want to go to a halfway house again.
Right on. Well, yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up was just there's it's a national initiative called Bank On, and we have I'm on the education work group here for the local coalition here in Albuquerque. And basically what they want to do is they partner with financial institutions that have low and no cost accounts. They want to, basically connect people with institutions where they can safely and securely have their money. So
you say institutions, so not personal.
So financial institutions, so banks and credit unions. And so they have these accounts that what I run into a lot is one of our program requirements is you're supposed to have an active savings account.
Right.
And so you bring that up and there's a lot of walls that get put up. A lot of people will say, all the banks do is they're out to get your money.
They just want to hold it and charge me money to hold it. Right.
Yeah. And then you're going to charge me to, withdraw my own money.
I want my own money. I can't even get it.
And so some of that I think is a little bit to do with when they signed up for the account, they might not have read the fine print. You missed the part that says you have to have a minimum balance, you have to have so many transactions in this period, you can only access the ATM, you can't go inside and talk to a teller, you have to have a minimum direct deposit, all these kind of artificial barriers that have gone up.
Is Bank One the one inside of Walmart's?
I think you're talking about First Convenience Bank.
Okay.
Yeah. But so this is Bank On, which is a collaborative of all of these institutions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So actually, if you go locally, so this is a national initiative, and there's a local coalition here in Albuquerque that I'm on the education work group, and then there's a statewide coalition that's really trying to reach out to people who live out in the periphery, and make sure that everybody's got access to these accounts where you can safely and securely have your money.
I found out in New Mexico, I've heard of rural communities. They have frontier communities. It's even further out, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's what they're trying to do is just give you the opportunity to store your money safely so that you're not stuck using a lot of the more periphery kind of like check cashing services or having to resort to like payday loans, pawn shops, that sort of thing.
Payday loans, God, 300%.
Yeah.
You borrow 100, you owe 300. How do we get away?
And that's actually now they don't. They put caps on the interest rates. But yeah, so the bank accounts really is kind of it's just really giving you the opportunity to, like I said, store it in a place where you're going to there's insurance, And actually, if you go to the city website, if you go to, I just Googled it, Bank On Albuquerque, and 3 separate words. And then you obviously go to the city website, it's the cabq.gov, and there's actually a list of these accounts, the account names at these specific financial institutions. So there's banks and credit unions. You can go scroll down, and there's actually a map of where they're all located in Albuquerque. So it's a really cool, just resource to take advantage of. I think it'd be really important just to.
So there's no monthly fee, no amount of, like, I give them $500. I can leave it there for a year and I won't owe them any money.
There's so that every place is different, but yeah, they're all like low cost, no cost. The fees are waivable potentially. Yeah, there's not a lot of the kind of, like I said, the artificial barriers that a lot of places have put up in the past. And so, and it's what's cool about Bank On is it's a collaborative of all these institutions, and it's not like a competition. They're really kind of believing in like all boats float on the rising tide. And if we all have the ability to like hang on to our hard-earned money, then just all of us as a whole are going to be better off. So
I feel that way with the nonprofits and charities in this town trying to get us all together. And I was just working with women in leadership just the other day, and trying to get us all one big team, and we program, not a me program.
Yeah. Well, and just so a quick example of like why it's important just in as a practitioner. This was a few years ago, but I had a client who he was on supervision and he went to the gas station with his girlfriend, and he gave her his debit card and said, "Hey, go inside and grab us some cigarettes, put gas on the pump, whatever, and I'll stay out here. I'll clean out the car, do the windows, and I'll pump the gas." And she did that, but she also went into the bathroom with a piece of paper, and this is back when they had the raised numbers on your debit cards, and she stenciled it with a pencil, and that back in the day, that's how you ran your credit card. You have the little thing.
Slide, give a carbon copy.
So that's basically what she did. And so she just kind of kept that in her back pocket and didn't tell him that she had saved it. And so that weekend, he gets hit with a DWI and he relocates. That's why I like to tell people when you get locked up, don't say you got locked up or whatever. Say you relocated. You don't have to be as forthcoming with it. Might have not been your decision to relocate, but So anyway, this guy relocated to the detention center for the weekend. And Monday morning came, his probation officer said, "We're going to release you to Deerson," and said, "You go home." So he comes to me and says, "Hey man, I got these problems with my debit card. I'm overdrafted like $500," and explained it to me what happened. And so we had to call. We called on the back of the debit card. There's a phone number. We called the bank and explained what happened, and they were able to reverse the charges, freeze the card, issue him a new one. Like they took care of him. But if he didn't have that established relationship with a financial institution that's got the insurance, the FDIC and CUA stuff, that story might not have had that same happy ending,
I know debit cards, a lot of them will not protect you like that. A credit card will, like when you want to dispute something.
And that's why it's important to go on, go onto the city website if you're local in Albuquerque and find that list of institutions, and you can call them and just ask them, make sure that account works for you. Because our program, you might be making a pit stop here at our center in Albuquerque, but you're ultimately releasing to Farmington or Raton or Clayton or someplace. And so if you value like having a brick and mortar building to go meet your banker at, and you get a spot here in Albuquerque, that might not be the best, for continuity. So.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it's a really cool program that I'm excited to be about, and we're. It's nice to refer our clients to, check out the website.
Most employers pay with direct deposit now anyways. The paper check and cash, those are pretty much gone. I'm sure there's a few places left that do it.
So yeah, for the most part, you should have a bank account established already before you're going to need to get that first check. You got to put it somewhere. So,
right. And
I think too, just, it's a program requirement for us that they have to save. You do auto draft for your Netflix and your Disney Plus and everything else. Why not pay yourself first too? Just kind of auto pay, just get your savings account right in there so you don't have to worry about it and transfer it. I think that's probably might be some of the questions you got for me later.
Well, what I want to ask, are they, because back in my day, you had to pay 25% of your income to the halfway house.
Yeah.
Is that still, then they stopped it just because of the pandemic?
Yeah.
So is that back in play or not?
No.
It's no.
And that's part of the reason why we're so big on saving. If you're paying here, you're not paying anything here. It's you got food and shelter taken care of. So you should, obviously we encourage them to get right with their financial obligations, child support, restitution, all that good stuff.
Restitution, make sure you pay that, okay?
Yeah.
Because you will get violated.
they'll find you.
You will get violated. There's no maybe.
So yeah, get right with that stuff, and then everything else just save. Especially if you're here because you need a place to go. Sometimes those are conversations we have to have where the only reason you're still here is because you're just not making good choices with your money.
It's tough out there sometimes to find a place, and we're helping people with that. But first, you got to get it. You have to have an income.
Yeah.
The vouchers and all that, I don't think anybody in the Dierson Charities would qualify for any type of vouchers. Really, they
are
some women with children may,
because they're staying with us. They're technically housed. I've often found. But without that, they would be homeless. So I don't know.
So, but if they do go out and find a job and get an income, come to us, or there's some other place we can refer you to. We can't help you once you have a steady flow of income coming in.
Yeah,
we're working with some property management companies in the area, so. But you got to go out and find that job, and they're out there. Lots of jobs out there. But what do you run into for excuses why people don't have a job there?
Well, sometimes really what I hear is I don't get paid enough.
Yeah, living wage can make a difference.
And I support, you need to get paid what you're worth. But on the flip side, it's also not your employer's fault if you're mismanaging the money.
I came here from San Francisco, where I was staying at a sober living house, $950 a month to share with 4 other people in one room. And so it was 8 people in the house. And I came here at $13.50 an hour, right? And I've been here a couple of years now, and I'm living fine. Okay, I don't get the fancy things, but my own apartment, pay all my bills, never been late on rent ever once, and I make a couple more dollars, not much more. At $13.50 an hour, I was able to do it. So I don't know,
Well, and
that's minimum wage.
That's something that we have those conversations sometimes too, where they've been working for a couple months, and then they say, I only have $100 saved. And it's like, dude, you're working full time? Where's your money going?
Yeah, and your rent's free.
Yeah.
Get it.
Well, and sometimes what I hear is, I've been sending money home to my family. When I was locked up, they took care of me for so long. And that's admirable to want to, pay that back.
Admirable at the same time.
But what I tell them is, if I was your family member, I just want you home. I don't really want your money. I want you home. And so I tell them, look, I'm spitballing here. I'm not trying to speak for your family because I don't know them. But I would assume if you
had a little extra money to send you, I think they would get by without that. Now that they don't have to send you anymore, it should be fine, right?
And so I would assume they would rather you get your own apartment. You can be home for Christmas. I don't want you to spend any more birthdays or Christmases here with me when you could be home having your family over. I think they would value the time with you a lot more than the money you're sending home. So yeah, sometimes you kind of have some uncomfortable conversations, and sometimes they see the light, like, hey man, I want the same thing you and your family want. I just want you home. Sometimes they get it, and sometimes they don't, and they stay with us a little longer.
Well, I'm working on jobs right now is my thing this month, and it's housing at the same time. But I have that tax credit incentive that they can show the employer. I have a list of companies that are hiring this week, men and women.
Cool.
I'm working on something that'll hire people with disabilities. Had a guy in a wheelchair wants to work, but he has a half a foot kind of thing, and so I'm also working on that. And this guy wants to work, and I know there's some work out there.
Yeah.
So you said like last week, because we want to help these guys, because we don't want to stop that risk. We don't want anyone to go back to prison. That's always going to happen. People are always going to go back. I get that, but there are those that, if they can get the job, if they can get somebody else, if they can start to believe in themselves and make it just enough, they can see that, I don't have to live that life of crime. I don't have to go back to the horrible life of prison. And those people that really want it, and those are the ones we're trying to reach,
Well, and it's all case by case, right? Like
it's individual.
You get some people, we have, they have the support, they have the drive, they have the know-how. You really just got to get out of their way and let them succeed. And then you have some others that maybe need a little more structure and encouragement and whatever that looks like. But yeah, I really like what you guys have going on here, where it's, just meeting the needs and kind of being all things to all people,
I just picked up, I have so much clothes. So if you want to send people, and mainly women's clothes, but I have, I'm going to say, I get them by the bag. There's probably 30 to 40 outfits in them. And I have 5 bags of men's and 30 bags of women's stuff.
Okay.
So send them over.
All right.
And,
You told that to the wrong person.
yeah. We're trying to do, like, I went out with the women in leadership, but the homeless women out there. But I told them 10 items each because I don't know what they're really going to do. Do they need 3 sizes? They thought that was fair. Your people will give them more as long as I know it's going.
Well, that's something. They're living out of a gym locker.
Yes.
You know, so you don't have a whole ton of room.
Yeah, that was one of the questions. Where can I store my stuff? How much stuff can I store?
Yeah, so we issue you a lock, linen, locker, all that.
How about laundry? We provide
Laundry
machines.
yeah.
Is it free?
Yeah, so, and actually we'll give like hygiene products and laundry detergent and stuff until they're in an earning capacity. So once they get that check, you know, you're cut off. But until then, you know, we'll take care of you with stuff like that.
Do they call it indigent? Is it called indigent?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Okay. So I know I got questions. People were asking me the other day. Do they get weekend passes, or do they have to earn them? I think, if I remember right, you have to earn those, right?
Yeah. So it's built on a reward structure. So the longer you're in the program, and the longer you're doing well, the more privileges you should be getting. So it's kind of case by case. You know, I mean, if you have a place to go already, and you know maybe probation's approved it, you know, we talked to the family and verified, like, yeah, they still want you. Then
but that's true. There are family.
And so actually weekend pass is a really good way to transition home, you know, make sure that you go home, maybe you go home for a night or two, you go home for dinner or something, make sure that you guys are still cohesive, at least enough to where you're going to work on the relationship. And then, you know, then before we just throw you home and, you know, you're just kind of there permanently.
Yeah, maybe just talk a little bit about home confinement. I know that seems to change, or that I know people while they're in the prison, they think, oh, I'm getting home confinement. And then, or no, you're gonna go check in at the halfway house. They run home confinement. No, probation approved it. And I hear different conflicts, but doesn't the halfway house run the home confinement program?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things in play there. So all clients coming from a federal institution should have a home confinement eligibility date, and that's really the key term there. Is that's when you're eligible to go home.
And that's 10% of your sentence?
Yeah, it's usually 10% or 6 months, whichever's less.
Less.
Yeah, so if you're only sentenced a year, you're only going to get a month. You know, yeah. But yeah, so you have your eligibility date, and a lot of times the caseworker in the institution will submit your proposed release plan to probation, and so yeah, probation might have already gone to your house and approved it for supervision purposes.
That's after you get, because you're still an inmate, even if you're on home confinement, you're still an inmate, and a lot of people don't realize that, right?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we do a family assessment, like I said, just to make sure that it's still an appropriate placement, that you're still welcome in the home. And if everything checks out, then we'll proceed with getting you put on home confinement. There's some rare instances where you do just come to the halfway house, check in, you get a bracelet, and you go home.
Now, I've heard of that, and then that spread like wildfire, and everybody else thinks that's gonna happen to them. So I talked to a lot of guys on pre-trial.
What happened during COVID was they realized that one of the risk factors for, you know, having adverse reactions to having COVID was having a high BMI or being a little overweight. So everybody and their mom started going to commissary and bulking up so they could go, you know, hey, now I'm overweight. Now I should be able to go on direct home confinement. You know, I haven't seen that as often recently. There's a lot of other things in play, you know, First Step Act and calculations and things. That's a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show, probably.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, the goal is to, you know, if you got a place to go and you got a job, you really need to be able to get out and, you know, more community, less confinement sort of thing, you know.
Do they have to pay any money on home confinement? No. Before, when I was in, you go to halfway out, pay 25%, but then when you went on home confinement, at least where I was at, San Francisco, they still had to pay 25%.
It was that way back in the day. Yeah. But yeah, not anymore. Now the big emphasis is savings.
And I remember I never had confinement, but people I know who have, they'll call you at 3 in the morning. You have like 10 minutes. If you miss that call, maybe you get a 5-minute window to call them back, maybe. But it's not what people as cozy as people think. Sure, you're at your home, but
Yeah, you're still on supervision, you know.
I know people have stopped to get gas on the way home and got violent because it wasn't they hadn't written it down. They didn't call to ask permission first.
Well, the GPS units, you know, they're pretty spot on. You can tell down to a few feet where they're going, and you can, you know, ping them. So I don't know if everybody's got that option where you can kind of give them a buzz, like, "Hey, wake up," you know.
Oh, it used to be you had to have a landline. Is that still the case?
Not in our program. That's
Well, 'cause
kind
you have
of
rural,
outdated technology. Where now what you can actually do, they make units where they tether to the individual's Wi-Fi at home.
Oh,
So yeah, if you might lose cell service, you can still tether to their home Wi-Fi if they have it. So that's another option for far out situations like that.
and I suppose you have special officers that are assigned home confinement that go check on the people. Or
Yeah, we have 4 case managers, at least at our program, and they're, you know, them, and we have an employment specialist. They go out and check homes periodically, and like I said, you check GPS and make phone calls, and a lot of that's really for the, you know, people are kind of annoyed, like, why are you calling me all the time? It's kind of for their well-being too, you know, like I don't want to just see you're physically at home, like I kind of want to hear your voice and make sure you're coherent and, you know,
Yeah.
things are safe and all that. So it is for their benefit as well as ours, you know.
I know I heard the ones in LA, they make you stand in front of the camera, kind of like this, and I've got like a 2-way Zoom call. So you may need to physically talk to you while you're standing in your home. You're not that far from that.
So we have a like company phone where we can do some FaceTime or WhatsApp or whatever, just to kind of spot check. Hey, let me see your fridge real quick.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, because it's full of beer or something.
Yeah, so that is an option, but we really like to be able to see the person face to face, you know, make sure that kind of their well-being as a whole is being taken care of. You know, are you showering? Are you getting enough food? You know, like things like that, making sure that they're doing all right. So
Well, one of the questions was, the guy asked, do I get my own room at Deerson?
yeah.
I didn't think so.
No.
How many people, 2 of them is it? Or is it an open bay? Or?
Our facility's got 4 dorms. It's case by case. Every facility is different, you know. So some of them have just rows of bunks. Some of them have more dorm style setting. It just kind of depends on your particular space.
One question was, can I have food there? Can I have coffee? Can I have sodas in my locker? Or is there a place to keep my food? Do you allow food?
So obviously we have a cafeteria, and so they have kind of the old school analogy of 3 hots and a cot, you know. But we do have vending machines on site if you want to buy your own soda or whatever.
I hear the food's not too bad over there.
I do some quality assurance testing periodically, and I don't mind it. Yeah, but we also allow them to order in. So
Oh, they can't
yeah,
order on those or something?
at least at our facility,
that's
like I said,
great, that's great.
every facility is different, but in ours, you know, you can, between the hours of 8 and 8, you can order delivery if you want to do DoorDash or whatever.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine allow that, but some don't, I know.
Yeah, it just kind of depends. And it's more of a like, all right, look, guys, if as a collective, we're not keeping the facility clean or doing your chores or whatever, that's going to go out the window. But
Right, yeah, those privileges can be taken away.
right, yeah.
Okay, what about having a car there?
Yeah, if you have everything you need to.
License, registration?
Yeah. That's the thing I try to tell them too, is like, I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm also not required to do. You know, like I also need to maintain, you know, current license and registration and all that good stuff. So, if you have all that, then, and we'll check your driving record too. We ask them to give us a driving record just to make sure that it's, you know, currently valid, that it's not suspended. You know, we'd like to know if you have an interlock requirement or anything like that. And in our program, we ask that you be in some sort of earning capacity. Like, how are you going to continue to pay for maintenance and gas and all that stuff? So,
the halfway house I was in San Francisco is run by Chio. I don't know if you heard of them. So when we came in and out, we had to take our shoes off, empty our pockets, but we had to breathe through a breathalyzer and the swab for drugs. So with all that, every time.
Oh, wow.
They're pretty strict.
Yeah.
And they still caught a lot of people. And
Yeah.
and their marshals are there, their marshals' office was right around the corner. And I don't know why these people think they're gonna get away with it. I mean, but they just, I don't know how strict yours is, but somebody asked how strict is it?
Same thing. Yeah, there's you keep pat search, breathalyzer, periodic drug tests.
They use the swab out there because it's an instant test, and then people try to fight it. And I don't think if you're, I don't think those tests come out false. You know, I mean, there's a small chance some of them do, but for the most part.
I'm not familiar with that, but I would trust it.
Yeah, I trusted it because it better be clean. You know, let me see. There was another question about having visitors. Or somebody asked, can my girlfriend spend the night? I guess that person who assumed they got their own room there. I don't know what kind of halfway house they were thinking it was.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it is. It's not a lockup facility, but it is a confinement facility. So yeah, the front door is wide open if you want to leave, but we're not letting anybody in. So, but yeah, the visitation we have Sunday afternoons. And then we have in the evenings on Monday and Tuesday. So I think it's from 6 to 7.
Some halfway houses have like an hour of recreation time where you can go out and walk around or something. Get some air. Do you guys have that?
So we have a rec yard, like we have a basketball court and walking track and things like that. But as far as leaving the premises, I mean, you can't just come and go as you please.
They had an hour for that, but it was between 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 or something. And if you miss that, then you don't get it.
Yeah.
That was to go out and get hygiene or walk around the block. But again, at that one, you were swabbed, you were breathalyzed, your shoes, you know, so it was pretty controlled. Even though it was a lot of work. If you took that 1 hour off, you're going to be in line a half an hour to get back in.
Yeah. Yeah. If they'll have an approved community movement to let you know.
I didn't know you had a walking track. It must all be in the back. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Because when you drive by there, it just looks like an office or something. Nobody has a clue. That's nice that you don't put that on there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Another question was, and I don't know if you can answer this one, but a woman asked me concerned about her safety from, say, men who were charged with rape, being released, living in the same halfway house with them. Something to that effect. And I don't know if you can't answer that, I understand. But she was concerned about her safety. This woman is about to go into prison.
So, I obviously everybody's should be familiar with PREA, right? The Prison Rape Elimination Act of 2003. And so in our facility, we have, gender separation. There's separate laundry rooms, there's separate rec times, there's separate day rooms, obviously separate dorms. Staff are walking around pretty regularly. So, I've never encountered a situation like that, at least in my career.
I know that's a touchy subject. Everybody's done their time. They're entitled to, be released after their sentence, and I'm not the judge. So, safety reasons, others.
Yeah.
So, you probably don't have children. Probably aren't allowed inside of some of the residents, right? On Visitors Day.
Yeah. So
and again, if I'm over the limit, just tell me. We can move on to another subject.
Yeah.
This will be the last question like that.
We do allow children to visit at the center, and our visitation room's behind like a mag lock door, so you can't just come in and go as you please sort of situation. But I mean, a lot of people really do take advantage of the home passes, the social passes. So I mean, I would rather you go home and eat dinner with your family in a normal home environment than come hang out with me and have somebody like me looking over your shoulder during visitation. Just in general, whether you got kids or not.
Let's see. I don't know if there was any more questions. I know there's one or two I'm missing. I don't know if there's comments. It's the middle of the day, maybe. What would you like? Anything? Because I think I'm out of questions and no one else is on the room. But is there anything you'd like to talk about or ask us? Our camera woman Tiffany, I want to thank you for helping us out today.
Yeah, I think just kind of the big thing that we're really pushing into the finances and stuff like that. There's a lot of horror stories out there and about that I've encountered, even where clients are kind of just too forthcoming with information. And it always happens, like every time there's a natural disaster of some kind, there's people impersonating the Red Cross. There's scams out there now where people are impersonating like the parole board or probation officers.
Just now, they have to start paying student loans back now. I think it started this week. I saw in the news they're already scamming them. Well, give us this money, we'll get your loan deferred and all, and the benefits.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big thing to be aware of now is like there's these people impersonating family member, they're impersonating the parole board or whoever, calling the family member and saying, hey, if you want your family member to go to the halfway house, you need to pay this amount of money.
Ooh.
And that's obviously not the case. So if you get one of those calls, you really need to call the FTC and report that, so they can look into that, because that's obviously a scam.
I did a show on commissary companies. They have a website that they pop up. You order all this commissary, it's going to go right to the inmate. And it's all lies.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. Okay, they buy their own commissary. I heard there are some prison websites you go to with specific site with a .gov address and all that. But I did a whole show. I found all the fake websites. And people were just leaving comments later on. And I bought $500 worth off this company, and next day the website wasn't even there.
Yeah, and that happens sometimes too, where people are impersonating the marshals, like, hey, I'm a deputy and you have a warrant and you got to pay this much or else. And,
that's been going on since I was like a teenager, man. I'm pretty old.
Well, and nowadays, with your cell phone, you get these scammers and it's like, why am I getting a phone call from Aztec? Like, I don't, if they're going to call you, like you said,
there's $3,200 to spend on a computer from Amazon, and we just I want to make sure we got the right address or something, so I can call and give them my, be careful. Those have been out there forever.
Well, and so go back to that story I mentioned earlier where the guy had his debit card stolen by his ex. That was a teachable moment for him, and that, one, you don't need to be sharing
and you can't
oversharing,
and you can't trust anyone because of your own girlfriend's doing it to you.
Well, I mean, that's what she went and bought her kid's shoes and paid her electric bill and all kinds of stuff. But we called the number on the back of the debit card to make sure that he was calling his financial institution. Recently, we had a client who had a similar situation happen, but instead of calling the number on the back of the debit card, Googled the number, found a fake one. Somebody impersonating her account holder. And she called them and they said, let me have your bank account info. And like instantly it was empty. And you just got to be really careful and kind of trust but verify, it's important to make sure you're
right. Like I was telling you, some people that we're trying to get housing for have given us false information. So now we really have to verify that. They will, people with a lie, cheat, and steal, they'll do anything to get in jail. So they'll do anything when they get out, right? That's an old joke. We're full up. Anyways, let's see. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm just keeping on, man. I'm really glad that we're partnering really closely like this. I think it's going to be really good, for our clients, and hopefully we're making it mutually beneficial.
And anything we can do for you. Right now, I know I've lots of closings for those residents, and I don't know. Probably just have them come here so we know what size they are.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to get out of the house.
Well, like I said, I'd like to get them in here so that they can see everything you have to offer.
While they're here, I'll talk to them about jobs and
suck them up into everything else you have.
Sure. Yeah, and some of these other organizations we'll work with also need some community services. But we'll get to that.
Okay.
Any women, female residents that you have, the women in leadership would also like to help them with.
They are cool. I've met a few of them in the past, and that's a really powerful organization too.
A lot of those women did a lot of time. When I feeding homeless on Tuesday, did 22 years, but that was 10 years ago. You could tell she's just really out to help people now. But, Stacy Burleson started the organization, and I always brag about her because that's a woman She's been out of prison, I guess, 10 years now, and she does nothing but help them. So
Everybody I've talked to from that organization has been real relentless. You know, they're hustling. They don't take no for an answer.
they don't. And I was honored because they got very few men even have anything to do with the organization. I was honored.
Yeah.
She's let me kind of, work with her. So, anyways, I want to thank you very
Sure,
much.
yeah, thanks for having me.
And you get out of the office today, right?
Yeah, definitely. We're closer to 5 o'clock today. Another day closer to Friday.
There we go. Anything else that you can think we can do for you? Just give me a holler, give me an email.
Cool.
I want to thank you once again, and thank you guys. And this will be reruns forever. YouTube owns it now, so hopefully people will watch this and at least get some answers of what they're facing before they go into prison, or maybe some family members can let them know what to expect when they get out. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna hit the end broadcast, and there we go.